Hey there, Spooksters, and welcome back to another episode here on Three Spooked Girls. My name is Jessica, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite ghoul friend, Tara.
Hey, Spooksters.
Today, we're going to be starting a new series called Evil Lives Here. It is on HBO Max. It has a shit ton of seasons. So, if you're looking for a show, this might be one because they're pretty short episodes. They're about 45 minutes, and it's new cases each episode, kind of like the Papa Joe series that we do.
I love
So,
that.
I'm going to be starting us off with the very first one. But before we do that, let's do a little housekeeping. If you want to hang out with us on social media, you can do so by heading over to Facebook, Instagram, Threads, all of the places. We're on Discord now, too, if you want to be able to interact as well. We're on Discord. It's also where we host our book club, which I will talk about in a little bit, or I'll talk about in a second. But definitely check out our socials. We also have a very thriving Facebook group. It's Three Spook Girls Official. If you want to interact with other spooksters, that's another place to do it. As I mentioned earlier, we have a book club. It's the Spookster Literary Society. If you're interested in reading all kinds of different books, we kind of go all over the place with the main read. Last month, it was an Indigenous story. The month before that, it was more of a novel. So we're kind of all over the place. So if you have an interest in reading, definitely join us. And then our second part that we do is a feminine rage read. Last month, we read Gone Girl, which turned into a movie.
Okay. I have to interrupt you. So in real time, I'm listening to it right now because we're recording this in, beginning of March. And I keep not only seeing the movie in my head when I'm listening to it, but I'm also keep thinking about American Nightmare. And I'm just like, God damn it. Fucking mustard.
Fucking mustard. Condiment face. But yeah, if you enjoy reading, or if you're like Tara and I and you have a book goal for the year, it's actually a really great way to get those books added in. And we meet pretty much on the last Sunday of the month and we discuss it. Sometimes we stay on topic and other times we start talking about other books that are similar or books that we're really enjoying. And yeah, I would definitely at least give it one try.
But we won't be there for this month.
I'm
just excited about our trip. I'm sorry.
I know. The only thing is if you're joining this month and you're like, where the fuck are Tara and Jessica? It is because we will be on vacation together. Tara and I very rarely get to go on a vacation together. And we've been planning this for a while. We're going on a cruise. So we're really excited, but we will be incommunicado from in the end of April, beginning of May, which I'm really excited about because it's Tara's birthday and then my birthday comes up. So we kind of get to spend time together, and her living in Oklahoma and me living in California does not lend to best friend hangout time so much unless it's here, which is actually a really cool thing about our podcast is Tara and I are we have to talk every week.
Yeah. I mean, we talk every day, but we'll just pretend that's not a fact.
Every day. We talk every single day.
It's fine.
Actually, on Friday, I have to tell the story. On Friday, I had this big work event and it's an all-day thing and Tara knows about it. But I think I forgot to tell her it was this particular Friday because she texted me at 3 p.m. and was like, "Are you alive?" Because I had not talked to her all day. Yeah, no, it was it was quite the day for me. I was like, oh my God, this is the day that I have to pee but can't move from this chair. But it was fine. It turned out great. Shout out to Camille for doing such an amazing fucking job because it turned out really, really nicely. And so.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, we got done a little earlier than we should have. That's always great when you have a whole day planned and the meeting goes from 9:30 to 4 and you get done at 3:30 and you're like, yes. But yeah, if you want to help support the show, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/3spookedgirls. For little as $1, you get a bonus episode each month. I'm really excited because March was my month and in real time, Tara doesn't know what it is, but by the time you're listening to this, she will have known and our patrons will have known. Tara and I do different things for our all-tier episode of the month. Sometimes Tara reads me scary stories and I tend to go a little more on the funnier side of life.
It's a flip-flop. It's both.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And we've done Mad Libs. We've done Choose Your Own Adventures. Tara reads Jessica scary stories and she literally holds on to her Mike Myers doll because she's freaked the fuck out. All the things.
Yes.
So definitely check it out. For as little as $1. You get a ton of catalog backlog. We have so much of the show that you may not have heard that we've done over there because it's almost 6 years worth. I don't remember exactly when we started a Patreon, but it was pretty close to when we started the show. So
yeah, somewhere around there. I don't know.
6 years-ish of backlog.
A lot. We had extra time during COVID, so there's other mini series we've done and there's a lot of stuff over there. So
there is.
Yeah.
So check it out. It's cool. Okay, so let's dive into today's episode. I'm really I actually really like the quality of the show. I have to say right up front, if you watch this episode, you know how when you watch reenactments and like you're like, that's a liberal choice of an actor you pick to reenact that person.
Mhm.
These people could literally just be the younger versions of these real people.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah. The only person is like the kid Robbie, who we'll talk about in a minute. He's just a little bit aged up in it, which I understand, but like I was like watching this and I was like at one point I like looked away and then I looked back and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, when did they get this footage? And I was like, oh no, just this is a reenactment.
Okay.
So this one it's season 1, episode 1. When I last looked, I think there's like 12 or 10 seasons of this. It's been running for a while, and there's like a spin-off one. There's like Evil Lives Here, like
Oh,
Shadow something, which I almost started
okay.
watching tonight by mistake. I was like, ooh, wrong show. I think I like started it and then I like left and then started to watch it again, and then like
Mm.
HBO Max was like, you should watch this show instead. And I'm like, no, that why didn't HBO Max?
We would have just pivoted and nobody would have known. It's fine.
No. Darren would have been like, I think this is the wrong show, but then I'd be like, oh, this is what we're doing because
I already did it. It's fine.
But yeah, this one is episode 1, season 1, and it's called Something's Different About Robbie. We start off hearing from a woman by the name of Candace Sims. She starts off by saying, like, I didn't want to do this interview ever. Like, when you first contacted me, I still don't want to do it now. So you're like, oh, shit. I mean, the title of the show should give you that, like, bad things are going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But it was like, ooh. Then it cuts to footage of like a news report. It's like police cars. There's a mall. So you're like, oh shit, what's about to happen? You just hear this like out of context thing, which is that a man by the name of Ron called Candace and said, it's true. It's Robbie. And she goes, I screamed so loud and then I passed out. And I was like, what did you scream from? Like, what? What did Robbie do?
What did he do? Yeah. Oh my God.
And then I like imagined it like very dramatic, like a woman with a phone to her ear. It was 2007, so I pictured like a flip phone, like she like flipped open her phone and then like screamed and then like passed out, like
dropped it. Yeah.
dramatically. I was like,
damn, they didn't reenact that part. They missed such an opportunity.
They did. So then the screen goes black and there's white wording on it. And it says, on December 5th, 2007, Robbie Hawkins committed an act of unspeakable evil. Candace says like she can't really like justify what Robbie did. She's like, she doesn't understand. And the only person, and they'll reiterate this again at the end of the show, this whole little section they show again once you like understand why. But she's like, we don't know. The only person who knows why Robbie did what Robbie did was Robbie. And I was like, well, somebody ask Robbie. There's a spoiler. They're not going to ask Robbie. Just saying. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And then the screen goes black and it goes, there's basically the gist of it. Again, the white words say, leading up to the event, there were signs. And then the like show started, like the intro to the show. And it's like basically all this like knocking and like these like words, like, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I just don't like the intro. It's just like weird. This frightens me. I don't like it.
So skip that. Okay.
Skip the intro. Okay. So Robbie was described as a bright little boy and thought everything was magical. Candace is like kind of the lead person who talks about him. Just so that you know, Candace is Robbie's stepmom. I don't know what age that she came into Robbie's life, but it was really young, before the age of 4. Let's put it there. Candace said that, you could bring a balloon home to him and he would tie it to an army man or a car and like make it like it was parachuting. He could just make any situation like happy, and he was really smart. But there was something very different about Robbie from an early age. He would get angry a lot, like not just like your normal toddler tantrum, but like aggressive and like angry. He would like yell like he hated you, that you were worthless, that he would just like really go at you. And so he at first, like when he's young, they would like try to like get a hold of him and like talk him down and be like, it's okay, like tell us. Like they show in the reenactment that like it's a birthday party and Robbie's like unwrapping his present and he gets a red car, but he like starts screaming that he wants a blue car, and it's just like this whole tantrum. And it's like Robbie doesn't know how to regulate his anger. Really, he doesn't.
Right. Okay.
Over time, he starts escalating to like physical violence, where he would like throw things, or he would even like self-injure, like he'd hit his head against a wall while he was having a temper tantrum, or he would bite people or kick them. And they were just like, this is a lot. And sometimes they would just be like, you know what? Okay, Robbie, like they'd put him in his room and be like, just be in your room. So they would like put him in there and then he would like calm down and come out and be like, "Good morning, mother. How are you?" Like that. Like it was very like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It was very, I'm really angry, explosive. I will hurt you, to come out, be the sweet boy that they know the rest of the time. And everyone in the house, because there were other siblings, they all really felt like they had to walk around on eggshells. Now we meet Ron, who is Robbie's dad. His name is Ron Hawkins. One of the things that really caught Ron's attention is one day he was at work and he got a call that he had to come pick Robbie up from daycare, kinder care. They were basically like, "Your son can't come back." And he's like, "Why? What'd he do?" Like,
Oh,
probably as a parent of like an angry child, you're probably getting ready to be like, "He's just like a little hard to handle." They were like, "We understand kids are hard to handle. He kicks kids, he hits people. We deal with that." But he hit a kid with a chair.
oh, yeah. That's
So
that's a
they
little much.
right? So they were like, "Your kid can't come back." And this was kind of like a big thing. And they were like, "What do we do?" And they go to medical professionals and they're like, "This is extreme. Like, this isn't like," I want people
Mhm.
who are listening to not think that this is like, "Oh, these parents just don't know how to parent their kid." Their kid was obviously in a position of like, just not listening, hurting other children, and it was malicious at this point. And this is something that I think was really interesting is it's like Ron talks about how strong-willed Robbie was and like how do you discipline a child who has a stronger will than you?
Yeah,
You can't, like, because
right.
I remember like this family that I like was friends with, they would like swat her on the butt and they'd be like, "Do you want another one?" And she'd be like, "Yeah." Cause she was just like not afraid of it. Right. And it's like if your kid is stronger willed than you, like you have to come up with some other tactic to like discipline your child. And obviously
Right.
they weren't trying to match violence with violence, right? They weren't gonna be like, "Well,
Mhm.
Robbie bit me, so I'm gonna bite him back." Like that's not how this was going down. So Candace and Ron sat down and they were like, "We have to like really figure something out." And the doctors were like, "We highly recommend that you would like admit him to a psychiatric hospital. Like he needs more help than you can give him. And it's not just about discipline, it's about mental health." So at the age of 4 years old, they admitted Robbie to a psychiatric hospital.
Oh, wow.
That's really young.
Yeah.
And he was in there for a while. Candace said that because at this point she talks about Robbie like Robbie's her own kid. Like she says, "My son." They differentiate a lot. Like they write Candace's stepson, but like she doesn't really differentiate, which I'm like, good for you, Candace. So Candace said she felt like numb and like worthless as a parent. She's like, "I can't even like take care of my own kid. I can't help my own kid. What do I do?" And then on top of that, like, how do you like the one thing I was like, this is kind of a hard thing, and I think it's just like how she said it, is she was like, "He's like a broken toy that just needed to be fixed." And I was like, I get that, but at the same time, I don't like the verbiage.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't blame them, and I don't think many people would. It's like if you got to that point where the professionals are saying, like, "You're not gonna be able to fix this,"
Mhm.
wouldn't you do what you needed to, you know?
And I
Ugh.
think that's the thing. And I mean, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak for that, but there would be a guilt thing with it where you're like,
Yeah.
my child, who by the way is 4. This is like the next part was like, how do you tell a 4-year-old we're not abandoning you? We're not leaving you behind. We're helping you get fixed. We're helping you get better.
I
4-year-olds
can't
aren't going to
imagine.
understand that concept. There's going to be
No.
like, "Mommy and daddy drop me off here." And Candace, being the stepmom, can kind of put in that whole like Cinderella aspect of it where like evil stepmom is getting rid of me. I do think that plays a part here. They don't actually call it out, but I do think, I
Yeah.
mean, they do kind of call it out because Robbie really hates Candace later in the show. I would say that like they were doing their best, but there's so much guilt with this.
Oh, yeah, it's a very complicated situation, like, looking at it on every side possible.
They don't really say how long he was admitted his first round through, but they said when Robbie came back to them, he no longer had anger issues, but he also had no other emotions. He'd like wiped a slate clean, like he was brand new. He had no emotions, which is kind of hard when you're like, you're wanting your kid to experience joy, but
Yeah. It's
they
concerning in a different way.
right. But then it's
Yeah.
also like if we get him help and we unlock his emotions, is his anger going to come back? So it's like, what do you do? Over time, they said he kind of came out of his shell a little bit more, but also that meant his anger came back and it started to, he got bigger, both physically and more explosive. And so when he was about 12, some things are going to start happening. He really got really fucking angry with Candace. Like he really hated her. He began to vocalize like out loud how much he wanted Candace to leave, like get out of their lives, and that he wanted his mom and dad to get back together, and that he knew that the only reason his parents weren't together is because his dad was married to Candace. This is something I think a lot of children of divorce, especially children of divorce who know both parents, feel, because I felt it when I was a little kid. I was like, if my stepmom wasn't there, my parents would be together. There's a whole list of reasons why my parents should never have been together, and I'm really glad that they weren't, and they didn't raise me. But right, so Robbie doesn't know that, and he's just like really angry about it. And she was just like, he would tell her, like, if you weren't here, my dad would remarry my mom, my life would be better, yada yada yada. And then all of his like anger became targeted at Candace. It wasn't like evenly distributed amongst the family, it was just at her. One day Candace was outside mowing the lawn, and my first thought was, Robbie's 12, why isn't he out mowing the lawn? That was literally my first thought. But she was like, hey, I'm thirsty, can someone bring me something to drink? And Robbie is like, sure, and brings her a soda. And so she gets the soda and she takes a swig of it, and she's like, this does not taste good at all. And she's like, did it go bad? And you know how like sometimes when you're not sure what it is, like you take a second little swig of it. So she takes like 2 or 3 little sips of it to figure it out. And she's like, this is just bad. So she didn't finish it. And later that night, she gets violently ill. She like gets so sick. And they were like thinking about taking her to the hospital because they didn't know what was wrong. And Robbie comes clean and basically says that he put a pesticide.
Knew it.
I know.
Oh no.
I want to give so much credit to this actor who plays Robbie because he is like menacing as fuck. I'd be like, get out of my house. Like, you're done. Move. You are scary. He was not. And I was like, oh, this kid. But really did look like the real Robbie too. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? So when they were like, Robbie, why did you do this? He's like, I just thought it was funny. Like, I didn't think she'd like, and then they show like the reenactment. I'm so sorry to laugh, but it was the acting in this because this kid is so fucking like, whoever hired him to play an evil teenager, spot on. He was like, I'm going to be the evilest teenager you've ever seen.
Oh my God.
Yes. He goes, they were like, Robbie, she's like, why would you think that's funny? Like the actress. He goes, I thought it was funny. Yeah, it's just that. Oh, because the dad says, oh, he was just a prank. He just thought it was funny. And he's like, yeah, I just thought it was funny. And I was like, oh, you evil little shit.
Oh, you knew dad was going to back you up in this scene. Damn it.
Right? He's like, it's not like you died or anything. Like Robbie and Ron. And she goes, I could have though. And he's just smiling at her. And I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Candace is in such denial about this. She's just like, I don't think Robbie would actually hurt me. Like, I don't think he'll actually do anything. I was like, bitch, he already tried to poison your ass. Bad people escalate. They don't just begin, they escalate. And
right. It's not like he put some Visine in your drink so you would go shit yourself. Like,
right.
a pesticide can kill you.
Right. If she had drank that whole bottle, she'd have died. For
Probably,
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But it tasted weird, and I don't think he thought it would. I think he like probably watched a movie where someone like put rat poisoning in someone's coffee and it didn't taste like anything.
But he's a kid, so
right.
He's just gonna go be like, oh, how it went in the movies, how it's gonna go for me.
Right. So then Candace is on high alert. They have an older daughter. She's working as a waitress. Candace catches him like walking out of the daughter's room. She's got money because when you're a waitress, you have cash a lot because people tip you. Candace comes upstairs and catches Robbie leaving her room and is like, what are you doing in your sister's room? And he's like, nothing. And it's literally how the actor was. He was like, nothing. Leave me alone. And she was like, no, what were you doing in your sister's room? And he's like, nothing. She's like, give me your backpack. I want to see, like, because she in her mind is like, he just stole money because he's done it before, right?
Yeah.
So she was like, I'm going to get the money back. And he wouldn't give her the backpack. So they're like fighting over the backpack. And when they're fighting over the backpack, she's got like a big ass wedding ring and he pulls and she pulls. And then when one thing or the other happens, basically she scratches his like on the face. Like he gets a scratch.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh my God, Robbie, I'm so sorry. Like immediately how any parent would be like, oh my God, unintentionally hurt you. Like this is not what I wanted to have happen. Robbie is just like, whatever, blah, 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 really angry, leaves. The next day, they get called to the school because Robbie has told a bunch of people that she just hit him, that she's being abusive to him. Now, that's not the only reason they called Ron and Candace down to the school. Like one would be like, okay, like what was going on? He physically has a cut on his face. This is an investigation we need to look into. But there was the other side of it is that he was telling his friends that that night he was going to go home and stab Candace in her sleep.
Holy shit.
So yeah, they were like, oh my God, what the fuck? And so Ron is like, his exact words are, this isn't like a normal kid's like, I hate you. Like, you know how
No.
teenagers get, they're like, Mom, I hate you, the worst person ever. Enter super dramatic door slam. Like that kind of shit. That's not what this was. This was like an
No.
attack of your character and just like rage.
Can I just say though too, good on whatever friend of his decided to say something about it though.
Oh, for sure. And I
Ugh.
think it was a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially because it's like you see, whether you're friends or not, you see how he acts on a regular basis. Why wouldn't you believe him that he was really going to go do that?
I 1,000% the reason why they told is because they were like, Robbie's probably cool sometimes, but the other times were like, he might kill his stepmom.
Yeah.
He talked about it all the time, how much he hated her. They basically sit down. It's really interesting is Candace is very much like, I don't think he'll actually do it. But in her mind, she's like, oh my God, this makes me feel so unsafe in the house. Ron is just like, you know, when other kids say they hate their parents and they want them to die, there's a doubt when, like, you know, every parent's like, they don't really mean it. He's like, there's a doubt in my mind when he's like, I hate you, I'll kill you. It's like, they might actually do it.
Yeah.
So they come home and they're like kind of watching him and whatnot. And they're just really concerned about stuff. And they go into his bedroom and he has carved the word kill her into his dresser. And they open the drawer of the dresser and there's a ton of pocket knives and different types of knives he's been collecting.
Oh my God.
So they're like,
Ooh.
this is just some 12-year-old boy. I'm mad at my stepmom because she caught me stealing from my older sister and I got scratched. This is like, I might actually like wake up and find my son murdering my wife.
Oh my God. Yeah.
They called a psychiatrist and the psychiatrist is like, look, you have to call the police. This is the only way this is going to help him. He needs to get into a group home for other kids like this. And so they thought about it. And Ron was just like, look, the chance is not zero he'll kill you, right? Like, so we have to do this
Right.
for Robbie. So they called the police and he was removed from the home. Candace says, other than like maybe a weekend visit or an overnight, this was the last time they were all in the same house together. So, like I said, Candace gets super emotional about this time, like how she's failed as a parent, how she's failed Robbie, all of this stuff, how she was afraid and how that made her feel, being afraid of her kid. It's got to be the most emotional point in time because you're like, I'm supposed to protect him, but he wants to hurt me. So I have to protect myself, but I want to protect him. I don't know that I'm equipped to handle that situation at all. Like
Oh
at
my
all.
God. Yeah.
So Robbie goes to the group home and Ron just feels terrible about it. It's just like there's like so many potential issues. They're like, well, maybe he has like separation anxiety. Maybe he has PTSD. Maybe he has this. Maybe he has ADHD. Maybe he has, you know, all these different things. And so they start him on different medicine regimens and nothing is working. Just absolutely nothing is working. And they're like, what the fuck do we do? He's in all kinds of therapy. And one of the things he's in therapy doing is he can't really have a lot of stuff. So he's allowed to draw. He has lots of pens and paper. And he starts drawing pictures of his family being murdered in various ways, like Candace being hung, his family being stabbed, like him standing around and his entire family just like on the floor bleeding out, like knives stuck in them.
And he's 12 still?
Yeah, 12. I'll just like spoil it. He's in a group home from the age of 12 to 17.
Okay.
So this is like during that span of the 5 years, this is happening. But like one of
Okay.
his main
Gotcha.
goals, somewhere along this time, because they don't tell you exactly when, one of his goals is that Robbie is supposed to like, oh, he has a lot of goals in therapy, is what they say. First and foremost. But one of them is that he needs to make amends with Candace because he's caused like harm to her in like threatening and he needs to make up for it. And she's like, he wasn't even pretending to be sincere, like, oh, Mr. Counselor, I am so sorry. I love Candace. She my favorite. Like none. He would just be like, Candace, I'm sorry. And they'd be like, no, that I don't accept that. You have to like mean it. And he was just like, oh, well, like, it's like he didn't care. This goes on for like 4 or 5 years. All of this shit. After the whole like getting called out in therapy for like the fake apologies, he goes back to the whole like verbal abuse, screaming at them, that kind of stuff. So nothing's working. Again, he's just drawing pictures all the time in his therapy. And most of his drawings are death obsessed. They're not necessarily like suicidal ideations, but there are definitely like probably some crossover there. But it's a lot of like people around him dead. And they were just like, he's so full of rage. This is what he draws. Because they tell him, draw your emotions, and he draws himself murdering his family. I'm going to say it right now. Robbie should have been institutionalized. Like these images alone he was going to hurt someone. He wasn't getting better. He had sociopathic tendencies. I don't like to make judgments of like what people should or shouldn't have done, but in my limited opinion, Robbie should never have been put in a situation where he had like free range of his time.
Right.
And
A big red
resources.
flag for me was that he had like the pens and stuff. He's
Yeah.
obviously a dangerous person. Like, they can make anything a weapon.
I do think that they made him like, from what I could kind of glean, is that he had to like draw in like a supervised room, but he could pocket a pen, something like that. I don't think Robbie really hated it in there, because I do think that like sociopaths know how to mimic emotions. And I think if he really hated it in there, he would have been out a lot longer than 5 years. All these people like give him what he wants. They talk just to him. He doesn't have to live with Candace.
Yeah, if you look at it that way, he could see it as a reward.
Yeah. It's almost like Robbie goes there and he has the only consequences that he doesn't live at home with his dad. Candace really blamed herself because Robbie wasn't going to go home. And this is the next statement I'm going to say actually backs up how I feel. They were like, Robbie could come home. And Robbie's like, I'm not going home as long as Candace is there. So Candace was like, let's get divorced. Your son needs to come home and be with you. She's like, you need to teach him how to grow up and be a man and all of these things. She's like, I love you, so I'll just take myself out of this equation. And so they go through a divorce, and then Robbie comes home. They're not living in the same house. They like move, they're on their own place. And he comes home at 17. Like I said, he'd been in there for 5 years. So he's 17 now. So that's a big time chunk, like 5 years, just from like the developmental from the age of 12 to 17. He probably was, his like developmentalness was being tracked. So that's probably good, but
that's about it.
Oh, by the way, guys, this is happening in Omaha, Nebraska. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Okay.
So Robbie comes home after Candace leaves, and Ron is like, here are the rules. You need to have strict rules. You need to have a schedule. You need to be like on it. And Robbie kind of like didn't like it, but he did listen to his dad. He was like, absolutely no drugs, absolutely no alcohol. None of that shit. Like, you are just going to be a good, upstanding citizen of the world. Take it or leave it type shit. He does pretty well. He goes like back to school. He makes friends again. Kind of fits into like, I wouldn't say his old life, but like he fits into society. It's really heartbreaking in this point of the show, because Ron talks about what he thinks that Robbie will be like doing in the future. And he talks about how he could see Robbie as one of those like adults who went through so much shit as a kid and came out on the other side of it and had a good perspective, and that he would be able to help children who were like himself, like find their way. And you could just tell that Ron had all of this hope in that, like that his son was going to be able to like make it out of the situation. I was like, oh, my heart hurts for Ron so much.
Yeah.
At some point after Robbie turned 18, he got a job and decided he wanted to live on his own, which I do think is a mistake. Like, I don't think Robbie should have ever lived on his own. But Ron said this was good. He moved out, he got a job to pay his rent, and he got a girlfriend, which, you know, is kind of like things that would, you know, Ron was like, that's what you do. You like get a job and you get a girl and you set your life up for the future. And so I think this is like the first time Ron is like, my son's going to be fucking normal. He's got a girl, he's got a job. And I was like, oh my goodness. Ron saw this all as a positive sign. And what happened next caught him off guard by like 10 miles. So one day, Ron is at work and he gets a phone call from his daughter and is like, do you know what's happening at the West Road Mall? Because he works like down the street. And he's like, no, what's going on? The daughter's like, there's a shooter there. She's like, do you think it's Robbie?
Oh my God.
And he's like, no, it couldn't be Robbie. So it's at a department store in the Westroads Mall. It's called Von Muir's. And you hear like 911 calls, people talking to camera crews. Like someone was like, I heard 12 gunshots ring out. You know, people are like freaking out. So her older sister also calls Candace. Candace is like, no, they can't. No, there's no way it's Robbie. Like everyone is just like, no, this isn't Robbie. Like, calm down. That sister's instinct was like so fucking on. So Ron is like, I'm down the street. I'm just going to go see what happens. So he walks up to a cop and he's like, listen, I got a kid. He's not always the greatest with his temper. He's, you know, please just tell me that I'm a paranoid dad and I'm being ridiculous. And he thinks the cop is just going to be like, oh no, sir, like this is just blah, blah, blah. And he goes, well, can I see your ID? And he gives him an ID. They take and write the information down and the cop leaves and never comes back. And Ron's older daughter calls and tells them that she's found out that it's Robbie. So on December 5th of 2007, he walks into a mall. You see the footage. He's wearing like a big oversized jacket and kind of baggy pants. He doesn't seem like anything different, like maybe than another person going Christmas shopping. And he walks to this department store. They don't know why he chose this particular store. My gut is maybe his girlfriend worked there. I'm not sure, or had worked there or liked it there. I'm not quite sure. That would be my gut feeling. And he ended up killing 8 people, injuring 5. And then they were like, this is when in the time in the show, this is when Ron calls Candace. Candace screams really loud and passes out. They're all like freaking out. This was such big news that George W. Bush was going to talk about the economy. He literally was like, before we do that, I have to send my condolences to the people in this Omaha community. And he was found with an AK-47, and he had just killed 8 people and changed the lives of dozens more. Candace blames herself for this because she thinks back to that day where she was fighting over the backpack with him. And she goes, what if I had just given my daughter the $10 he took? What if I hadn't fought with him? What if I had just let it go? What if I hadn't scratched his face? What path would we have gone down, you know? And I really hope that Candace can find some sort of like, I don't want to say relief, but like some sort of like peace with this, because like, no, honey, Robbie was Robbie. You enabling him to steal may have emboldened him in other areas. Him not being removed from that home, like I very rarely stake my life on something. I'm not actually going to stake my life, but like very rarely stake high stakes things on this. He would have killed Candace. Candace would not be with us today
For sure.
if he had stayed in that home, because he hated her and he was looking for an excuse to scare her. And this is how he did it. I just don't think he thought his parents would remove him from the home. I think he was psychologically terrorizing her. He was going to kill her, not going to try. He was going to kill her. One of the interesting things that Ron did after this is he went to like the news channel articles and like read the comments, and people were like, why didn't anyone do anything about this kid? And Ron was like, we did stuff. We thought we got him better. We thought we made progress. And then something set him off. And this is what he did with that. They never found like a note or anything saying why he did it. It's interesting as Candace talks about how like the aftermath never really leaves. Because like I really find it this like moment. It's like Candace goes, you know, like I love Robbie. Like I still love him and miss him to this day. Like this is a woman who was terrorized by this young man. But she saw that he was troubled. There was something wrong with Robbie. And she knew that. And, you know, she says that like, it's really hard. Like she didn't go out in public for a long time because people would like see her and want to talk about it. She's like, it's really hard around the holidays, like around December, because they have a memorial for the victims, which rightfully, and she's not saying they shouldn't. She's just saying it's hard on her. And like when his birthday comes around, that's hard on her too, because she loved this kid and she knew it wasn't his fault and that he had something mentally wrong with him. And this is what happened. But it's one of those really weird things where it's like people argue the inhumane, like locking someone up. But sometimes you're like, Robbie was a harm to himself. He ultimately turned the gun on himself. Like he killed himself. It's not like he's sitting in a prison right now, just not talking to people. Like he took his own life and he was in so much pain and so much like anger inside of him that he had to do as much as possible before he left this earth to hurt other people. And that's really sad. And I hope that this is one of those stories that lend like a cautionary tale to other people. Like when you see the signs, don't be afraid to be like, no, this person shouldn't be allowed out. They should be watched. But that's the first episode of Evil Lives Here.
Wow.
Heavy.
Yeah, holy shit. But yeah, wow.
I was
It's
thinking
really
we were going to
sad.
get like a cult leader or like a bank robber, Jeffrey Dahmer.
That's so
But
sad.
the quality of the show is good. I'll give him that. The acting,
That's good.
spot the fuck on. I was not, it was not one of those you were like, ooh, super cheesy. It was like pretty good. You're like, okay, I see you in your attempts. I like this. So I will watch other episodes. I'm excited. Tara will be back next week with the next episode of the series. So if you want to watch along with us, watch along and let us know what you think. Go into one of the many places that you can leave a comment on the Discord and the Facebook group on a post somewhere and let us know what you think of the show. We will be back next week. Toodles.
Bye, guys.